Okay, good evening. It is Wednesday, April 13th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Urbana Human Relations Commission. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Stacy Burnett,
Here.
Asako Kanazi Leggett,
Here.
Peter Resnick,
Here.
Greg Schroeder,
Here.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
All right, we do have a quorum, and so we can go ahead with item 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve.
And a second?
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Asako, a second by Stacy. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. The agenda is approved. Now we have approval of the March 9th, 2022 minutes of the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Greg, a second by Asako. Any discussion, updates, changes to the minutes? Everybody good? All those in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. The minutes are approved. Public participation. Hearing none, seeing none in the room. We'll move on to item 5, unfinished business. We have no unfinished business at the moment. And then on to item 6. Our first item is EEO workforce statistics. Carla, do you have anything in particular to note other than the report we got?
Sorry about that. I reviewed all of the certifications, and I have some specific information if any of the commissioners have any questions that they just wanted to explore.
All right. Does someone want to make a motion at least to put it on the table for discussion on approvals?
I can make a motion.
Go right ahead.
I motion to approve A&A Concrete for 6 months, Foth Infrastructure and Environment for 2 years, Furman Engineering 2 years, Horick Construction 2 years, Insurance Risk Managers, Cora May Incorporated for 2 years, MSA Professional Services for 1 year, Open Road Paving Company for 2 years.
All right. So we have a motion. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
All right. So we have a motion by Stacy, a second by Greg. So discussion. Stacy, you want to start out by telling us why you picked those numbers, and then, if we have any changes or thoughts, we can go from there.
Okay. So for A&A Concrete, I picked 6 months for them because of the low rate and the minority. And so I was wondering, did they show anything for good efforts of making it attractive?
So, and actually, I ask it every time because my brain is flat. 15 is our minimum? I thought it was 20. Right. So generally speaking, our tradition has been if they have less than 20 employees,
Okay.
we simply approve because statistically speaking, we figured we can't really tell what they're doing. The other thing I would note about A&A, by the way, is that they did check the box for they have labor agreements. So they are obviously using
Okay.
union employees, which I think probably goes to our other issue that we're working on this year, which is discussing with unions about how to increase diversity there.
Okay.
So,
So
in any
they're
event, so yeah,
actually-
on that
They're actually
one-
new, right?
So yeah, and are all of these new?
One is
Or
new.
they're a renewal? There are renewals, okay.
I think the first one is new. The A&A Concrete
Okay.
is new.
So do you want to switch A&A to 2 years because of the sub 20?
Sure.
Okay. And then Foth, you had I'm sorry, I didn't scribble all these down as you went.
2 years.
2.
2 years for all except for the second to the last MSA, 1 year.
And MSA is another 14 employee one.
Right. And I wanted to ask, on the women, in their packet, it said that they had 5 women, but on our spreadsheet, it's 0.
Oh, yeah,
Is
I
that a
noticed
typo?
that too. I think it was just a typo. Yeah.
Yes. So, otherwise, I can give them 2 years.
Okay. But yeah, they're another sub 20, so they should probably get 2 years
Yeah,
as well. Okay,
okay.
so then you've got 2 years across the board. Anybody have any other comments on these? Thoughts about whether we should go lower? I tend to agree with you that, given the state of the numbers for both ANA and MSA, I kind of wish we had the ability to say, guys, what's going on here? In terms of ANA, I think we cover that when we start having the union discussion. With regard to MSA, they're at 14, still ain't terrific, but, I think we go ahead and I'm trying to think if we've ever traditionally sent a comment to a company that was sub 20 at all, even if we gave them the 2-year approval. Neither can I. But I think it's one of those cases where the numbers are so small that to say, well, what are you doing about diversity? Do they have enough overturn to ever put a dent in it? I think that's where we're at. So any further discussion? Any questions?
Can I clarify something just for the minutes?
Yeah.
So the original motion, did Stacy make a friendly amendment to that? Or
Oh,
was
no,
Pete?
yes, sorry, we have to do that correctly. Yes, so, I don't remember the rule here. Does someone other than the original motion have to make the friendly amendment?
Stacy, the original person makes the amendment, and then
The seconder must agree. Okay, so Stacy made requested an amendment, a friendly amendment to both A&A Concrete and MSA. And Greg, you were the seconder. Do you agree to those changes?
I agree to the changes.
Good enough. All right. So the motion on the table is for A&A Concrete for 2 years, Foth Infrastructure and Environment for 2 years, Furman Engineering for 2 years, Howard Construction for 2 years, Insurance Risk Managers for 2 years, MSA Professional Services for 2 years, and Open Road Paving Company for 2 years. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, so the EEO workforce approvals are done. Now we'll move on to item 7, Officers Report. Carla?
Good evening, everybody. For the month of April, we have no closed cases. Informal complaint inquiries, there was one inquiry. It was based on employment. I spoke with the person over the phone. When I reached out to them, there has been no contact since April 5th. Formal complaints, there are 7 active complaints. Investigations for 4 of them is nearing completion. The other 3 were signed last Thursday and Friday. 1 was signed on Thursday, 2 were signed on Friday, meaning that I have met with the complainant, gathered their preliminary information, and the complainant formally signed the complaint on either Thursday or Friday of last week. Those complaints were sent certified mail to the respective respondents, who will have 28 days after receipt to submit a verified statement and response to the allegations. All 7 are housing complaints, 5 for source of income, 1 for criminal background, and 1 for race. If you wanted to know the totals, I wrote down the totals for the year since my arrival. We currently have, I've worked on 10 complaints. 8 of them were housing and 2 of them were criminal background. community office activity. Successfully completed the EEO certification training and received my certificate. I will be participating in a National Housing Academy training forum next week. That's specifically for housing complaints, and I'm actively waiting for them to open up a course on investigations. And that should happen sometime in June. They told us to save the date, but it hasn't opened up for registration. I met with Lisa Benson, for the Community Services Director for Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, to learn more about their programs and services with a particular focus on their Housing Choice Voucher program. That meeting was very informative, and I believe both of us walked away from that meeting gaining a lot more information about their office and my office, and I'm hoping for a productive, work relationship with them. I'm excited about that. I attended the University YMCA Friday Forum plus Conversation Cafe. This was during Women's History Month, and their featured speaker was Cecily Bowen, a former U of I student, sharing about her journey, and it was quite interesting. I ended up purchasing her book, and the first 5 pages was like, oh my goodness. So I hope to finish that. And that's all I have for this month.
Thanks. Any questions for Carla? I just had one, and only if you feel like within the bounds of confidentiality you can. The source of income cases sound like there are a number of them. Are they Section 8 source of income cases or other kind of housing voucher cases?
They are Housing Choice Voucher cases.
Got it. Very interesting, and it sounds like state law is going to adjust to make this also covered under state law, so.
Well, the good thing for Urbana is we already
We're ahead of the
recognize
game.
it.
We seem to be ahead of the game with our ordinance many, many times. Thanks. The only item we have left is announcements. Anybody have any announcements, things going on in the community that you want to let folks know? I only have one reminder, which is, I believe it is July is supposed to be our elections for new officers, or is it June? June. So we have 2 months before then. If you would like to volunteer to be chair or vice chair, please do feel free to ask questions about what that entails. And I'm glad to talk to folks, and I'm sure Carla would be too. We do want to have folks available to do that in the future. With that, seeing no other business before the commission, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.